All right, so I have here today a copy of Clash of Steel, the German versus British one that's coming out in May. Now, very shortly, in a few days, they're going to be releasing the USA versus Soviet one that I want, but this is what I was able to get. I got it before May, and it's going to be my preview into Clash of Steel, what's actually up with this game. I'm going to go over every detail I can. The unboxing will be somewhat undetailed because other people have already unboxed this in videos, but I'll still show you. I really want to go inside. What's in this box? How can we use this? How does it play? All of the above. So let's get to it. I'm going to rip the cellophane off, and we're going to see how this thing goes. So with the cellophane off, this one, the box is the same quality as the Flames of War starter sets. It's pretty much cardstock. Nothing super amazing like the stuff from World of Tanks, but it's a box. It works. Here we have Tiger Sprues. I have no need of these in this game. King Tiger Sprues. Those will be nice. I do believe these are Comets. No, wait. These are a Centurion. What's with that? Okay, I see. That's the older... okay, got it. Yeah. So these are 3 Centurions. I'm going to want more of those for British. Oh. And there's a 4th one. Thank God. Comet. Someone tells me the Comet's going to be kind of like an afterthought in this game, but I have 3 of them. I used to have 3 from my other set, besides not the Go that direction. Panzer 470s. These are also up for grabs. The mouse. Yes, looking at this one, I'm thinking, this is going to be a simple build. And then I realize, is it? Because it's got these tracks, it's got treads. Tread to track assembly is never sweet. Oh well, we'll see. It's got a square turret, so everything should line up fine. You get 1 mouse. There are 2 tortoises. Tortoises, in my opinion, are nastier. But then again, that's just my opinion. I honestly think the mouse with its side armor of 13 may actually be the better choice in this game. The core rules. Oh, look, they all come in a big old hawkus right here. You get, of course, the promised, these are objective locations. These are victory point dials. Attacker victory points. Where's the defender victory points? Oh, those are black ones over here. Okay, so there's 2 of them. And then you get camouflaged. You know what the best way to do camouflage would be? Instead of this token, you get like a little sprig of lichen or of the Silphor green or just one of those little, the old-fashioned, clumps of foam-like bush material. The bush material we use the foam-like stuff for. Destroyed tanks. What about bailed out tanks? Bailed out. Okay, good. Because usually when a tank is destroyed, we put fire tokens on it. That shows it's been destroyed. Oh well. The usual suspects. Whatever this is, I have one of them. There's a small collection of German and British tank commanders in there. Nice. And all of the core rules and stuff are in this little... Okay, so these are caps for the dials you get in this game. And of course, they give you a little bit of... These are like mass decals. They're just Soviet stars, Alliance star and ring, or German crosses. So these are like goes for everything class decals. Nothing too super special here. Getting into the actual part inside of the box, you do get a cardboard layout, and it comes with 6 of these, 9 of these tactics decks. I've read ahead a little. These are supposed to be things you can collect and modify. I like the alternate rule where you just make a big old stack of tactics cards and you draw out of one deck. That seems a lot more fair. Although you can potentially buy a lot of different starter sets, unless they sell tactics decks separately, and then you can modify those all together to, make something that's more custom to your force. But if that's the case, you might as well have a universal deck for casual games as well. Just a good idea. These mission cards have the traditional setup, long way setup, and the strange corner-to-corner setup in equal representation. And the back of them has the rules on how to set up a mission. So it's actually not bad at all. These, I'm going to play with these. The standard deck has 9, 1 through 9 mission rules that you could draw from. I want to get more starter boxes because the US and Soviets are actually the ones I want to play with. If they come with the exact same cards, it might be cool to have a standard deck for when I play with everybody, and then take those 2 decks together and modify them so it's the rules I want to play with. But then again, these are drawn for both sides, so it's like everybody gets to use these. It wouldn't be towards my advantage. It would just remove things like excessive reserves. But in any case, talk about excessive reserves. These are the objective cards. These go onto the objectives. And they could be anything like you get no victory points to this modifies things like terrain to, modifies. There's a bunch of different modifiers on how you actually hold the objectives with this. And that's the biggest change I'm seeing between Clash of Steel and Flames of War is how you grab objectives in this game and what objectives mean and do is much different. It's no longer about the objectives. It's about victory point. That's why these, and those objective counters, the new circular ones, why they mean a lot. Going through these are the unit cards. You get stuff that's only available in Clash of Steel. You get stuff that's available in Flames of War, although I would say these cards are much more legitimately useful in Clash of Steel, while these are pretty much Flames of War cards. So you can take your Flames of War collection and play it in this game. To some extent, I'll go into that in a second. But you have that. The British have an interesting choice because they have Centurion 1 and 3 available, Mark 1 and Mark 3. And they have, stuff from Flames of War, Archer, Cromwell, Challenger. That's the Challenger A30, Comet, and Churchill 7. The Churchill 7 is an interesting choice because it has less anti-tank than it has armor. So you can't kill a Churchill 7 with a Churchill 7 easily. So you only really get a few cards that are just for Clash of Steel. These can be impersonated out of Flames of War, so your collection can be useful. And then, of course, you have the Mouse and the Panther 88, which, by the way, the Panther 88, unlike the Panther we get in Flames of War, 10 front armor. I was expecting the Panther with a Schmalterm to actually have 1 point higher armor, like an 11. That just made more sense to me, but I'm not going to complain. It's just how it turned out. So, and these, of course, are your Flames of War usable stack. On the back, it looks very much like a Flames of War card, but slicker. You've got your point value, you have your headquarters value if you can bring it as a headquarters unit, and not all of them do that. Notice the Tiger 2 gets a headquarters option, the Panther 7.5 centimeter does not. So you have things there you have to worry about. You do also get an additional cardboard cutout token thing inside of that box. I may have gotten 2 by accident, but I think you get 1 with the rules, and then 1 is free floating inside of the box. This little pamphlet that calls itself Core Rules is literally the same thing you see on the website. So those rules are everywhere. These rules are everywhere. These rules also duplicate themselves inside the Clash of Steel Core Rulebook. Want to see? Well, they're right here. Literally the exact same print layout and everything. These right here are the core rules you got on the website and in that one little slip of paper I just showed you. Then it talks to you about playing Clash of Steel, how it works, etc. I have gone through this, and pretty much Clash of Steel is Flames of War without anything else but tanks. There are a few specific differences, like they call it camouflage. I've already gone over some of these in my previous videos, but the deal is how you run. Oh yeah. When it comes to Force Last Stand, it works just as if you did not have a command unit. So when you're down to just 1 tank unit that isn't a support unit, the game's over. Your guys are considered destroyed, and that ends the game. Special rules, these are just carries over from Flames of War, the exact same thing. Force building, let's talk about this. you now have just plain support choices, and you have core choices. Core choices you get 2 to 6 from. You only get a choice of 0 to 2 support units. So support units are no longer a strip you can select from 0 to 2. And I'm looking at the American list they have copied over in here. The Jackson seems really cool. The Chaffee has the recon ability, but the Hellcat doesn't have the anti-tank if you ask me. So how useful you'll find your support options is very variable. They don't count for morale in this game. And since morale works on an auto lose when you have 1 unit left, you're going to want to just bring these guys. And your headquarters counts. Also, you only get certain choices. The Americans apparently get assault Pershings, the T-28, aka T-95, or the T-29 as their headquarters options. So you can't just bring a unit made of EZ-8s and Jumbos, which, mind you, I don't see any Jumbo choices here. But supposedly we're getting boxes of them. I think Jumbos are going to become as an add-on to the EZ-8 platoons. Let's watch for that when that comes out. They're not listed here as a unit. They're probably going to be a special add-on. It's also mentioned you can bring core units from other American forces, other German forces, other British forces, other Soviet forces. They're going to make more books. They've produced these little magazines that are essentially your codex for the game. And so these little magazines are probably going to get new ones in the future that describe different kinds of forces that you can then sub in to other forces you have. So these will become collectible as you play the game. It's kind of funny you have headquarters units. Headquarters do act the same way they do in Flames of War. They can re-roll morale checks for you if you're within 6 inches of them. So there's also something else that headquarters does, and it's only in this version of the book. This is a holdover from the old Tank Aces and Infantry Aces campaigns they were throwing back in the day, except for you just buy the point value, and you can add these special abilities, 0, 1, or 2 of them, to your headquarters guys. And it's just your commander. If your headquarters unit has 2 boys in it, just the commander gets these. Although I think, honestly, it'd be cool to play games of Clash of Steel where these can be openly distributed throughout the headquarters unit or however. But that's just me talking conjecturally. The fact you can buy upgrades for your commander also makes certain things make sense. Like I looked at the point value of this box set inside of the German box set for Clash of Steel. Your German forces are total worth 46 points. Your British forces are worth a total of 44 points. So as far as that goes, you have the option to fill out the points with these instead of having to worry about filling each and every one of the points in a point value allocation. So there's that. Missions. This is actually where it's different. The mission cards layout is the same. The kind of rules we have in the missions are the same. How we tally them is different. Each objective has a number on it, and that matters. On turn 1, you grab 1. On turn 2, you grab 2. And on turn 3, you grab 3. And you flip over the cards that are on them. So at the start of the game, you don't know what the objective is worth, or you don't know any modifications to that one. I think it was going to be cool if you have to grab them to get that objective figured out. But then again, that may have been too much to grab one and it's a decoy objective. Dang it, I fought so hard for this objective. So they got rid of that. You just have the numbers on the table and then you flip on that turn to see what the objective is actually worth. And some of them do modify. They say, at turn 6, draw a new card and replace this card with that card. Now, this has been misheard in other videos, but I'll reiterate it here. You get 1 victory point for contesting, 3 victory points for objectives held, and 3 for units that were destroyed that turn at the end of each turn. 3 victory points for each enemy unit destroyed. Now that is cool, because if you bring a unit made of 5 tanks, it's going to take harder to destroy than a unit made of 3 or 2. If you take a Soviet unit, I've been told that they have 6 or more tanks per unit, those are going to be really hard to destroy. So you're not going to be getting those 3 victory points for each enemy unit destroyed, because the Soviets just like everybody has to go down to 1 tank left before that tank tests morale, the Soviets have essentially 9 ablative tanks to keep them in the game. That's going to be really cool. They're scored at the end of each player's turn for both players, and a running total is kept. Your tally your victory point tally there is a double-sided token that can measure 0 to 99. All the other methodologies for playing this game are very similar to Flames of War. Like tanks that move at the dash can't hold or contest. True. Tanks that are out of command can't... Yeah, true. The game does not end until the round limit specified by the mission or one force is destroyed. That's cool. Instead of just grabbing an objective and then the game ends, it plays out for the full number of turns and you see how it swings. It's possible you may have guys zipping back and forth that are small, light, and fast from objective to objective and grabbing those. People might think by looking at this game, opening it up, that the meta is going to be get your mouse, get your tortoise, win the game. Those little light recon Cromwells might be good for running around and grabbing objectives that no one else is paying attention to. Think about that. Also, all tanks start the game camouflaged. So much like in Flames of War, where all infantry start the game dug in and gone to ground, that's now applied to tanks. But you can't be dug in and gone to ground, you just get camouflaged. So if you didn't fire, you get camouflaged. You should be good. We talk about ambushing and special rules, reserves and special rules. These are all the same as in Flames of War for the most part, including night fighting. Night fighting is just brought in from Nachtjäger and modified. Tactics cards, you can collect these and modify a deck to be what you want to be. It doesn't have an actual standard size of the deck, but I could count it and pretty much tell you that's what it is. 25, 26. There are 26 cards in a tactics deck. So essentially, the one you get with the starter deck is what you play with if you're playing Universal. Or you can collect them up and then reconfigure them to be whatever 26 cards you want to bring. You only get a hand size of 3 to start with, drawing 1 extra card per turn. And you do have the option in this game to just dump all your cards and draw new cards. So that is a thing. If you run out of cards in the deck, who cares? This is an add-on. If you ask me, you can either just ignore it, okay, you ran out of cards, have a nice day, or you can reshuffle the old stuff you didn't play already and throw it back into a new deck and just draw from that. There's both ways, and it doesn't specify here exactly how you deal with running out of the deck, minimum deck size or whatnot. You draw 1 card at the start of each turn. After you draw your tactics card, you can choose to discard any number of them and draw an equal number of new tactics cards. Discarded after playing, their effects are immediate and can only be used once. That sounds good. When it comes to this, it doesn't have a minimum or maximum hand size. You always just draw the 1 card per turn, essentially. I don't think the tactics cards are going to be a game breaker, but they'll definitely change things. I do think playing with a universal deck will be better, if you ask me, than playing with customizable decks. I'm just going to say that right here and now. The book does have an index. So if you can get lost within a rule book that's essentially less than 52 pages, that's the main rule book to Clash of Steel. If you ask me, it's pretty much just Flames of War Light, and they've modified how missions work. Let's talk about making forces. You get the same introduction to the war. I talk about the Polish War of 1948, which didn't happen but was in the plans. And it talks about British forces at war or German forces at war. It does have a one. Let's just show you over here on page 4. See, German forces at war. You get your German version. So everything else, though, is exactly the same. They just mixed and matched. Now, when you play with your British battle group, your only options are a Hero Tortoise, Hero Centurion, or Hero Centurion 3. Since if I play British, I plan on just spamming Centurions. That's not a problem for me. If you had dreams of running Comet troops or Challenger troops, I hate to say it, your dreams have been dashed. Go get yourself a Centurion or a Tortoise. I'm sorry. But you can still bring, 2 tortoises or 3 tortoises. So that is a combat unit there. Now, most of the combat units the British bring are restricted to 3 of something. Unless you're bringing Centurions, in which case you can bring 2, apparently. 3 or 2. Why would you ever bring 2? Just bring 3. Comets, Cromwells, Challengers. It looks like the same statistics from Flames of War just walked over and joined this game anyway. So, and then you get archers. Oh yeah, I'll show you this. So you get your tanks described. It tells you what boxes are coming for this game. So if you really want to angle in on having that archer and support, they're going to get a box of 4 of them. And the most you'll want to do is buy 2 boxes because, remember, you max out at 2 support units. So you're never going to bring more than 6 Cromwells, which makes me very sad. Then again, I have a different tank to play. Centurions? Yes, sir. Centurion 3s are nice. Well, the World War II prototype tank is Centurion 1s. Centurion 3 you're somewhat familiar with, Fate of a Nation. Although I think it's the Egyptian version as opposed to one with the Shot. And then at the very end it has some advertisement. And then on the very back it has a quick reference guide. I love quick reference guides. It's all right here. So, Germans have a similar thing going on with their forces. Yay, German forces at war. They have more support options. So if you ever wanted to bring a force of Jagdpanthers or a force worth of Hornices or Panzer 470s, I'm sorry, not in this game. Not yet. I mean, if they make a new book in the future, because that core units from other German forces, they're going to be making more magazines of this. Probably ones that have the Einwittlung series. There might have one that has like an alternate series. I have a few thoughts I'm going to hold to the end, but still, I'm thinking they're planning on making more magazines like this. It'll be your codex. So your only choices of headquarters are Maus, Tiger II, or Panther 88. So your only Flames of War forces you can bring in and play right away legally are the Tiger II based forces, because Panther 88s don't exist yet. But you do have all these choices for core units. Maus, Tiger II, Tiger 1, which is really outclassed in this game, but it's still there. Panther 88 and Standard Panthers, both solid choices. Even if they have just 10 armor, that's still a solid choice. And Jagdtigers, which if you ask me in this game, Tiger 2s, Jagdtigers, those are your best bets. Panthers will be used as a flanking tank. You use Tiger 1s if you're nostalgic and have no care about winning. If you want to try to go fast, you can bring Puma Scouts, but the Puma Scouts are not going to be fielded in large numbers. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. So you go through, and it has the Maus with a full page. It has the Tiger 2 and Tiger 1 with a full page. The Panthers each get their own separate pages too, whether it be the standard version we're used to or the new guy that doesn't get any extra armor. I like the fact you can bring 4 or 3 of them per unit. 2 to 4, 2 to 4, 3 or 4, that's nice. Up to 4 Jagdtigers, that sounds fun. You might as well buy like a Flames of War box and bring it in, right? Jagdtigers are also core units. Thank God, because they've got the armor to fight like one, right? This is Clash of Steel. We've got heavier boys running around. If you fight an enemy playing with a Maus, you're going to want to bring something that can survive the Maus. Jagdtigers can survive a Maus. And the Puma, the Jagdpanther, still has armor 9. 4 or 3 Hornices. And then the way outdated Panzer 470. At least it's you might as well bring a normal Tiger. Come on, you might as well just bring a normal Tiger if you're bringing. What's it cost? 3 and 9 for these. What about normal Tigers? Tiger, burning bright. Where are you, Tiger? 7 or 10. Okay, so you bring it because it's cheaper than the Tiger. Tigers are still better though. But yeah, if you want to play the bottom of the game, the Panzer 470 is a laughable support option. The Tiger 1 is just as good and roams around in the core unit. So you can bring an entire company of nothing but like Tiger normals being supported by one King Tiger as their king. You could just play with Mauses. I mean, you can bring 7 Mauses total. And then it has the list of what boxes are coming. And German players are getting a lot of boxes because, you know, they're Germans. They have a lot of stuff to play with. And a quick reference sheet. So there's that. If you ask me, Clash of Steel is pretty much just Flames of War light. I don't see anything here that's really super controversial or super over the top. There's nothing here that truly breaks the game. It is different. Without infantry or artillery or without any of those other things kicking around the game, the meta just becomes tank versus tank. Which is why I'm kind of glad they went to scoring points differently, because if it was just a matter of grab the objective, take the fastest, heavily armored tank you have and just go jump on the objective and win it, you know? Not with this game. You actually have to play out through your turn, so unless someone's force gets tabled, you get to play all the turns. And from what I've seen, it's 6, 7, or 8 turns. Plus there are objective cards that add a turn, so it can be 9 max. And I think there's one that can take away a turn too, so it can be 5 to 9. I'd have to go look through the objective cards again. I only glanced through them. I was really trying to figure out how the rules really worked. I have 2 guesses about this game. Clash of Steel is going to release sub-games that introduce other kinds of forces. You're going to get German forces with the Einwit-Lung series. We're probably going to get American forces that have like a Korean bent to them, maybe. Clash of Steel may be the vehicle we play Checkpoint Charlie on. Now, it would have been cool to have infantry in Checkpoint Charlie, because that was definitely a thing, but you could. After all, one thing I do know, the Soviets are getting T-54s with the weird Mark I turret, but they're also getting in that same build a Confession, yeah. They're getting the Mark III, where it's the standard domed turret for the T-54. If that's the case, we are in for an interesting game where Clash of Steel could easily be the backbone for Checkpoint Charlie. If so, we're not going to see any infantry. We're not going to see any aircraft. But it's plausible. After all, they're coming out with the M48, and they're coming out with the M103. Those are a bit too late for this timeline. The earliest we ever see a Patton tank, the M46 variety, that is in 51. And that's, what, 3 years away? So it might be a bit. So yeah, this is Clash of Steel in all of its glory, and I am most likely going to be getting the American versus Soviet box set in a couple days here. But I'm really glad to preview these and say, this is Clash of Steel, this is what we're getting. It's Flames of War Light, it's just tanks, and we're probably going to see, even though we can play our Flames of War forces in here, you're going to want to play with bigger tanks, or the lightest, fastest tanks possible. So T-34s will still be a thing, Cromwells will still be a thing, Chaffies will still be a thing. I think the Churchill and the Tiger are going to get overrated really fast. Thanks for watching my video, and hopefully have a terrific rest of your month.